house tried to kill me. It almost succeeded.
He's inside me. Even as I'm speaking to you, I can feel him just waiting in there to take over.
Question number 1. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Yes.
I do not believe in ghosts.
Absolutely.
I do, like give or take.
I do. It's complicated. I don't know if it's ghosts that I like have experienced, but I know it's something.
Yes, I do believe in ghosts.
A restless spirit that walks the earth.
I believe that energy is recycled when a person dies, because energy just doesn't die. So when a body leaves the earth, I guess their soul is recycled, and that's why I would consider a ghost.
A ghost, my definition of a ghost, I suppose any paranormal activity in the sense of a spirit, so to speak, from beyond the grave, one might say.
A ghost has many different meanings, essentially. There can be just straight up apparitions, there can be shadow people, there can be mists, there could be nothing at all. Just a ghost is either a disembodied person, a demon, whatever. It's something that's there. It's definitely an entity that's with you.
Energy, so spirits, energy, the last energy of a soul that walked this earth. Because I don't believe that we just cease to exist. So what's the point of life if we just cease to exist?
Spirit or a leftover soul from their life.
Some energy that isn't in the same dimension as me.
Well, there's a little girl that like walks up and down my stairs at my house. I don't know, she's like an apparition, like, you know, a little girl. Really cute. White dress. My grandfather talks to me a lot. Passed away a couple years, you know, he and I were really close. So like when I'm going through a hard time, he talks to me.
So this is back in, I think, oh god, what year is it? 2021, almost 22, so it's probably 2015. That's what I'm guessing. We moved into this apartment complex down in Sacramento, and Cassie and I actually shared a room. And there was just one night where I was laying in bed and something just didn't feel right. And I think I went to turn on the light or off the light. And as I was walking over to the light switch, so it has pulleys on the light, and as I was walking over to the light switch, one of the pulleys pulled and the light clicked. And then I flipped out and I got back into bed, and then it pulled again and the light turned back off. And then I felt, actually I felt really scared, and then I felt tugging towards the end of my bed on the blanket. And then I just pulled it, and I just kind of closed my eyes and rolled over and just kind of forced myself to like settle down. And I was only like 11 at the time, so.
What do you think like is the explanation for like people who have had like personal experiences with that kind of thing?
I think there's like a multitude of possible explanations. For example, there's situations of just, you know, for example, your brain not working. I shouldn't say not working, but like we sometimes could confuse something that we see that's there but isn't not there. We're like, oh my gosh, I saw something, but you didn't. You were just sleep deprived and you drank too much Red Bull. Like coincidental situations, like the famous, oh, there was like a knocking at my door, but it was just like my cat banging. If they don't fully understand something, they will often give, I shouldn't say unreasonable because it's not the right word. People will often give like explanations and like try to help them cope with whatever the frick just happened.
Yeah, I can actually tell you a couple. My very first memory of life is a paranormal experience. I was 3 years old, and my mom was reading me a story by a grandfather clock that we had. It actually belonged to my grandfather, and the clock face opened up. And nope, it's really hard to pop open. It's really hard to pop open. And so I was just like, huh? Because I couldn't really talk very well. And I I remembered seeing my grandpa just touching the clock, and then he waved to me, and that was that. And then about 5 years later, I had this Christmas stuffed animal. It was a bear that would sing if you pressed its paw. Unfortunately, its singing scared me, so I had to take the batteries out of it, but it started singing one night when my mom took me to bed, and it freaked me out. And so I put it in the closet, and in the middle of the night it started singing again. And so I was like, Grandpa, can you please leave me alone? And it stopped singing, and I've never heard it sing ever since. But that was definitely one of the more terrifying experiences.
Was that after you took the batteries out?
Yeah, definitely. It was after the batteries were out and everything, and so that's what made it even scarier. But another pretty terrifying experience I had was I used to sleep in my brother's bedroom, and one night he wasn't home, and so I was just sleeping in there by myself. And I woke up at about 3 o'clock, so about witching hour, unfortunately, and I looked by my door, and there was a little girl just standing there. And I said hi because I wasn't afraid, because she looked nice, but then she had just put her finger to her mouth and told me to be quiet. And when I asked her why, she pointed at my closet, and I saw a man hanging from my closet. There is no way for anyone to hang in my closet, because that's just not how it works. And so I instantly freaked out and had to go see my mom, because I was 9 years old and was like, what just happened? What did I just see in my room? And then the next day I actually woke up with scratch marks all the way up my legs. There were 3 of them, and they were just really distinct red marks right up my leg, and I don't scratch myself in my sleep. So that was definitely extremely terrifying.
I haven't had a personal encounter, but I do live in a house where the original owner died in the bathroom upstairs. So, you know that bathroom? Yeah. Well, he died in there, so sometimes we hear like noises or something.
My mom does ghost hunting, and she will go to different haunted places like all around. We lived in California, and you know, California gold rush, and so we would do go ghost hunting, go to grave sites. And ever since I was little, I mean, I've had various like weird encounters with ghosts and spirits. I think like my first encounter, I was in a mining cave, and I looked over and I saw a man with overalls and a little like pickaxe, and he was staring at me, and I started freaking out, and I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, like there's this guy staring at me. And my mom looked over, and like before I even said anything, she took a picture, and it was just like an orb, like a giant orb of just like light. I'm Christian, so like biblically it's hard to even say like if ghosts really exist. I think in the book of Hebrews they say something about like seeing Jesus and saying like, oh, is that a ghost? And Jesus always said like, oh, I'm not a ghost, but it doesn't really say that there like isn't ghosts in the Bible. So it's like it's hard for me to like really put down how I feel about them. I do believe like in evil spirits, and I believe like in angelic spirits. My grandma haunted me for a while, but it's really hard. It's hard to say. Like I had like one leave me in Arrowhead. I saw like a Native American pounding on a rock, and I like looked over and it was gone. And I went and looked around, and there was an arrowhead there. And it could be a coincidence, but I don't know. I think it felt different.
Yes, I have. I've had 2 that I can think of. So the first one took place at my grandmother's house. Her mother died in the house when I was 3 years old, and my brother was 6. He told my mom that he saw a demon throwing boxes at me from the attic. And I was walking down the hallway, and it was like floating above me, and the boxes were coming down. And more recently, Thanksgiving last year, I was in a pretty low vibrational place in my life. Well, I took as much as I can of anything to like numb pain. I was in the guest bedroom. I went outside and I smoked. I went inside and then I smoked a dab pen. And then I took some pills. I felt a sandy pins and needles feeling in my toes. And it was like in the shape of a hand. It started gripping my ankles. And then my toes went numb. And then it moved up my calves. And that's the point where I got freaked out. I tried to go to sleep. That room was where my grandmother's mother died a few years ago. The medication started to hit, and I took about 12, I think. My chest opened for a second, and then it was sinking, like my spine was sinking down into the floor. So I felt like I was on the ground, which freaked me out even more because I felt a cold fucking hand gripping my legs. Then I looked to the corner of the room and there was a blue portrait of someone looking sideways. And then it looked forward and it didn't have eyes or anything, but then I saw the rest of its body and its haircut, and I closed my eyes and it was gone. But I still felt bad energy. Then I looked in the drawer beside me and I saw a picture of some woman. It was either my grandmother's mom or her dead husband's ex-wife. And she had the same haircut as the thing in the room.
I feel like it can be true, but I also feel like most people don't die until they finish all the business on Earth. So if they are haunting someone, then it's to help that person finish their business on Earth.
I think we all leave with unfinished business. So the idea that specific ghosts stay in specific places because of unfinished business doesn't normally make sense to me. No one can do everything, so everybody has unfinished business. I think a haunting is more person-based though, more than place-based.
It's a cool video game concept. And like, if you're a ghost and you're haunting people because you got unfinished business, like, how you gonna finish that business? Like, what business? Like, do you need to kill someone, or do you like make reparations? Because if so, go do that in Ghost World. Because like, unfinished business could be like a multitude of things. Like, someone dies, but they forgot to pay car insurance. Like,
That honestly makes a lot of sense to me. Considering one of the houses that I do clean, I did some research on the home, and there was a man who was murdered in the house, and I believe that he is haunting that home because he's, upset about being murdered in his home, and he wants not necessarily revenge, but just to be like, hey, that was kind of not a cool thing, but I'm still here. I don't know how to move on yet, but I'm still here.
Unfinished business. I do believe that everyone has a purpose here in life. I mean, people who don't have a purpose are often described as like lost souls. Hauntings, I don't believe that ghosts' aim is to haunt humans, like be live. I don't think that's what they do, but I do believe that they could be roaming, searching for the purpose that they never got in life.
I don't believe it's unfinished business. I believe it's just they're still here. In the Bible, it talks about how the rapture has yet to come and has not happened, and that all the dead will come first, and then children, and then adults, and then after like the 7 years of tribulation, the sinners, if they repent to God. And I believe that the dead has not risen. So when they say, like, something that always confuses me is like, oh, like, rest in peace, you're in heaven now. I don't believe like anyone's truly in heaven yet. I don't think anyone's truly reached heaven yet. I believe that they're with God, but I don't think they like truly reached heaven yet. And I think like them not being able to reach heaven yet is like them still being here and being trapped here. And like I think eventually like ghosts won't exist.
My idea of hauntings is they can be both positive and negative. Maybe someone who's made it to the underworld and just doesn't like it there and actually enjoys simple earth things.
You just kind of let them be, you know, like you don't want to make them mad, you know, or just be really respectful of them, you know.
I think I would just want to let people know that, like, lives are never forgotten. There's always going to be someone around who appreciated you.
So my initial reaction would probably be like, okay, what the frick? I want to rationalize it. So of course I'm going to go to like more scientific, more objectively truthful sources that could explain this type of situation and rationalize it through that, instead of going be all like, I saw a ghost man.
Happen to be positive, I guess, I would try and not necessarily befriend it, but, you know, be kind and just ask how it's doing, being like, how is this affecting you? How is your afterlife, essentially? What is it like? But if it was something negative, I would probably not say anything, but if I had enough courage to, I'd probably ask it, why do you do the things that you do? Like, what gives you the satisfaction to hurt people? But can't always get an answer from that, so.
Well, I'd ask what anybody would ask. What happens after death? That's one of the main questions that everyone really has. What happens after death? If we had that certainty, I think it would probably do more bad than good. But I still want to know.
If I came in contact with one, I would probably just think it's really cool, and you know, if I feel like a good connection, I would communicate with it. But if it feels weird, then I would just leave it be, say a prayer, and go.
I would hope it's a specific person, because my cousin just killed himself in February, and I've been seeing him in my dreams, but I kind of want to talk to him.
Be nice to ghosts. Don't make contact with anything you don't want to. And if you try to, you gotta be careful, because there are more things than just ghosts out there. Definitely.
Parting words. Love you, homie.
If you believe in ghosts, okay. I mean, yeah, I don't care. Sure, yeah, ghosts are cool too, I suppose. And if you're a ghost and you want to haunt people, bro, just like stop. That's not a vibe. I don't like that.
Not necessarily, other than the controversy behind orbs. I think they're real. I think orbs are definitely a thing, because they're just a manifestation of energy.
Ghosts should exist because my uncle recently passed away, and I want to believe that he's not just nothing. And I believe that he's still here, and I can feel him.
For me, I've had to think a lot about like the spiritual world and ghosts, and just because I am religious, so I had to like really do my research on it.
Okay, any parting words on the subject? No, but thank you for interviewing me. Thank you so much for being interviewed.
If there are ghosts out there, I love you.